The transfer deadline closed on Monday and Arsenal did no business. Mikel Arteta has admitted disappointment with Arsenal's lack of signings. So after a mixed week, let's take a temperature check because we obviously have a 10-day break and a trip to Dubai now. Do you think this is the start of the rest of the season?
Hopefully. I would say, obviously, a lot of, pressure has been put on Dubai because of what happened last season. But that wasn't the first time Arsenal went to Dubai under Mikel Arteta. They went, I think, 3 times before last year. And to be fair, each time they went after a little bit of a rocky period. So twice it was after 0-0 draws against Burnley. They came back and beat Newcastle 4-1 one time and Wolves 1-0 the time after that. So there has been, I guess, form for them to go out and have that little break, rest and recharge and come back refreshed. And hopefully it's the same this time around.
I think a lot of, I've seen a lot of, prominent Arsenal voices online over the last 24 hours being really critical of the fact that they're going to Dubai because they've just gone out of the cup. It's like, you shouldn't be rewarding them for this, But the truth is, this is not a luxury. This is a necessity. The need to recharge and refresh and go again at a time where we've come out of a period where we've been playing games every 3 days. We've got an injury list that doesn't seem to be relenting at any point. I think this is needed to give the guys a chance to recharge and refresh, to be able to go again and give it that push in the business end of the season. And, bonding is never a bad thing in a team and in a squad, and they're going to get to spend time with their families as well. From what we're hearing, Art will know better than me, but that is going to be helpful at a time where, again, with lots of travel, games every 3 days, they probably haven't had much of that recently.
I agree. I think the question for me after last night was, what does an acceptable season now look like for Arsenal? And what role does this trip play in that? I don't think the league will be coming our way. I think there's too many things wrong for us to kind of go on a crazy run this time and retrieve that. The Champions League, look, we'll see what happens there, but if you can't get a shot on target against Newcastle, are you going to beat Real Madrid and the likes in the Champions League? Unlikely. Players are dropping like flies as well. So this reset needs to be a reset that I think everyone just calms down a little bit, gets their football going again, and it's almost, and this might sound like a massive stretch, but it's almost a pre-season before the pre-season, with half an eye on next year. Now, I'm not saying we give up and we just pack up and go home, but I think there's been so many things that have been wrong this year in a way that the year before things were almost perfect. You kind of almost have to think, okay, how do we ensure that come the start of next season, we are ready and good to go? That's about recruitment, obviously, as well. But I think Mikel Arteta's got to work out from here to May, who are the guys that are going to be with me next season? What's my style of football going to be next season? And what can I do now that will impact and benefit us for then? Because in terms of trophies, I kind of feel like there's not much that's going to come away this year. So it's about now, what do we do to ensure this season is an acceptable one? 3rd, 4th is not acceptable. Getting beat in the next round of the European Cup is not acceptable. So those are small wins. But other than that, I think the break needs to be just about calming down, resetting, and thinking, right, how do we finish the season in a respectable way?
And look, at the end of the day, it is freezing in England and London, and it has been for a very long time. And the warm weather does wonders to the mind, body and soul. And I think that that's what they all really need.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think just on that, I asked him, Arteta, on Tuesday, if they would just do similar things to what they usually do when they're out there. He said, same location, same training base, but he is going to have to think of different ways to kind of get those players refreshed and actually enjoying their time out there. Obviously, the weather will help, as he said, but I think having little games they can play. I think the families went for the first time last year, so that was something that really brought them all together. I think doing something similar but different will be a massive help.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes you need a bit of time to detach, don't you, from the pressures of elite level sport. And I think they get to do that a little bit. It's not good that we're out of the FA Cup, but it's worked out in the sense of we've got this little period now where we can go and do that. But I mean, yeah, with regards to Jordan's point about what looks acceptable for the rest of the season, I still think that there's a section of the fan base that without a trophy will not be satisfied, regardless.
Totally.
And I'm not even saying that I completely disagree with that, because I feel like we've been building and building and building, but at some point You need to crown that off and you need to deliver for sure. But I think, you got to think about, and I sound a bit like Mikel Arteta now. You got to think about the context, right? And,
Careful.
And there has been...
You look like him in the jumper.
there have been a lot of injuries. There have been moments where you felt like the rub of the green has gone completely against us. There have been some very bad refereeing calls against us. And if we don't win a trophy, of course I'll be disappointed. But if we go on a good run now and get close to Liverpool and make further progress in the Champions League, I won't look back on the season as a total failure, is the point I'm trying to make. I don't think it's that binary, like trophy success, no trophy is complete failure. I think it's somewhere in between.
If he can push Liverpool to within a handful of points and finish second, it's not great, but that's 3 years in a row where you've gone pretty much all the way to the last month of the season. If we can get to a semi-final or a final of the Champions League, okay, we want to win that, but that would be a small win as well. That would be it's about incremental signs of success, because trophy is that's the main signature of success, of course. If you can't win a trophy, can you at least move us on so we can look back and say, all right, we didn't win a trophy again, but I feel like we're doing better in Europe. I feel like the football's getting better. I feel like this player's developed. There's got to be small, tangible wins that come May, we can say, we're disappointed, no trophies, potentially. But at least I can see some small wins.
It's the jumper and the hair, Harry. You are exuding Arsenal and exuding Mikel Arteta today.
Channeling your inner.
Oh, really? He's channeling it. He's channeling it. So, finally, Liverpool are going to Everton. How big of a blow will this be if they win that?
Yeah, for me, I think 9 points would be massive to overturn, mostly because when you look at the timing of Arsenal playing Liverpool, it's in May. And I think that's probably too late to then take those 3 points off Liverpool, if you can do that, and then go again. I was actually looking back at the 97-98 season.
Wow.
When I was looking for a deficit that was overcome, and obviously Manchester United that year, I think were maybe
it was 13. I think it was 13.
It was 13 at one point, and then Arsenal went and beat them at Old Trafford, and that was in March. So I think you still had a bit of time there to build momentum, but May, I think, is probably a bit too late to do that. So fingers crossed David Moyes still has Everton ticking in.
I've always liked that David Moyes, the cracking manager.
I personally feel like I feel the title was almost sealed on Saturday with Liverpool beating Bournemouth. Because there's not many games now where I look at this on the list where I think they could beat Liverpool. There's not many of those teams left. So with this one, of course, if Everton win and we win our game, that cuts it down to 6 points, and we're all level on games. 6 points is definitely catchable. That's doable. My concern is I'm not sure if we've got a 8, 9, 10 game winning run in us. I don't think we've got that. And I think we'd need to do that to obviously overturn Liverpool's deficit. So for me, it will give us a bit of hope, of course, but I think that our issues internally are the reason why I don't think we'll win it. I think there's too many players that are out and injured for us to really do something crazy this year. So obviously I'm rooting for Everton, but I feel the damage has almost been done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like I look at Liverpool, and I've watched a lot of Liverpool's games this season, and I've come away from them thinking, how did you win that?
They're not great.
And they're not performing great all of the time. They're grinding out results, but that will only get you so far. Like, there will come a point where that will catch up with them. So I'm very confident that they'll drop points between now and the end of the season. The question is, can we capitalise? And I really felt like the January window, not to bang on about it, was an opportunity to just give ourselves that little bit of a boost and give ourselves that 5-6% extra that we might need to be able to go on that type of run that you've described, and missing out on doing that. And I get that you don't want to just buy anyone for the sake of it, and I get you've got a wider strategy, but sometimes the strategy needs to be parked in order to react to the situation that you find yourself in, and I just don't think we've done that.